Hello and welcome to Talk Lit Get Hit, a podcast where we read questionable books recommended to us by social media and talk shit about them.
We're Bridget, Erin and Laura, three friends who haven't mentally progressed since high school, where we bonded over a love of music and books, but mainly Twilight.
Brace yourself for a heady cocktail of somewhat highbrow and incredibly lowbrow ramblings about all the books the internet loves and our journey to figure out why.
Hello, welcome back to the show. Welcome to our 7th ever episode and welcome to part 1 of our 2-part series on Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You bloody bet we're absolutely trying to make the most of the hype now that the TV show is slowly trickling out. It feels like this episode is a long time coming, in part, I think, because it was one of the first books we decided we would talk about when we were picking books for the pod. And 2, because Bridget got COVID and we had to postpone our recording. With that in mind, how's your month been? How are your COVID times, Bridget? Are you feeling better?
I am feeling better. COVID was actually quite enjoyable.
Wow.
I didn't have to go to the swimming carnival, so that is
people died, Bridget.
a win for me. Sorry, but
You're going to get cancelled like Vanessa Hudgens.
I mean, people are going to die, which is sad, but inevitable. Yeah, I didn't have to go to the swimming carnival, so it was great.
That is good. I'm glad that you didn't have a hard time of it and you didn't have to go to the swimming carnival.
Yeah.
That is, always relieving to hear.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as last time, so.
But it has been so long since we recorded last time, like over a month, and so much has happened. Like Laura and I had birthdays.
Woohoo.
I went to a couple of concerts.
Yeah, what'd you go to see?
Quite a variety of bands, really. I went and saw some old LA punk rock bands, Bad Religion and Social Distortion. So they were touring together for the first time in 40 years. It was incredible. And then the day after that, I flew to Melbourne to go see a K-pop band called Stray Kids, who have some Australian members. So that was really sick. But actually, I didn't tell you guys this part, but when I was at the airport to go to Melbourne, I actually ran into the bassist of Bad Religion, who I'd seen the night before. It was so fun. And so we had a little chat and he was very nice.
That's cool. Were you wearing a merch tee?
No.
Was he going to see the K-pop band too?
God, I wish. No, he didn't disclose that, probably for his own safety. For a second, I thought we might be on the same flight to Melbourne because he went into the Virgin Airlines lounge or whatever, and I was flying Virgin to Melbourne, but didn't see him. Sad.
That is cool. And actually, it was very rock and roll of you, Bridget, to get COVID at an Ed Sheeran concert, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
No, that's not where I got it.
Okay,
So rock and roll.
That's not where I got it, Laura. Get your facts straight, please.
We may
Do
never
you want to elaborate?
We
where
may
you
never
did
know.
get it?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get it there. Where I got okay. The problem is I bought all these tickets for these concerts 2 months ago, whatever. But what I failed to realize was they were all in the same 2 weeks. So Thursday night we drove to Byron Bay, which is about a 3-hour drive to see Maisie Peters in Byron Bay. And so we forgot about daylight savings. So we thought we had 3 hours, but we really we had to be there quick, really fast because she was starting at 9, which is 8 o'clock for us, and we left at about 4. Anyway, it was a bit of a disaster, but we got there about 10 minutes before she started. So
Lucky.
Nice.
literally the perfect time to get there. And then we went to Ed Sheeran on Friday night. So the next night we drove back to Brisbane and we went to see Maisie Peters as a support act, and we had really good tickets. And that was fine. Leaving was actually hell. We were stuck in one place for about 45 minutes, was ready to die.
Yeah, that sucks.
But then the Tuesday night, we went back to Brisbane to see Maisie Peters again. And that's where I got COVID. So
third time unlucky.
Yeah. Third time is really the charm. And then Friday morning I woke. Well, Thursday afternoon I had a really sore throat and I sort of lost my voice. And I was like, oh no, it's not didn't even cross my mind that I could be sick. I just thought because my class had been quite naughty that day, so I had to raise my voice, and I don't normally. So I thought, oh well, I've hurt my voice and I've strained my voice, and then I, went to yoga and all this stuff, and then
You were just spreading it
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. And then the next morning, I woke up at about 4:00 because I had a dream about Laura's boyfriend.
Oh.
And I like woke up to text her about it. And then I was like, oh, hang on. My throat is really sore. Oh, I better do a COVID test. It was positive. So yes.
Oopsies.
It wasn't from Ed Sheeran, actually. It was from Maisie Peters, which also not rock and roll, but I mean, slightly less embarrassing.
Going to that many shows is pretty rock and roll, though.
Yeah, it was good. Worth it, I say.
And then B-Bell got better and we all went and saw Harry Styles and it was a really great time.
Yeah, it was lovely.
It was so much fun.
Thursday night, I also went and saw Bon Iver as well in Riverside.
So good.
And that was very, very good. It was so funny, though, because the vibes were like
So different.
complete opposite. Nobody was making any noises. Nobody was singing along. Like,
Just weeping.
it was like everybody was too cool to show that they were enjoying it.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
And
want like a
also-
bit of a vibe.
That's
I
good.
hear you're trying to steal my best mate.
Yeah.
Beatrice texted me that you guys are getting matching merch now, which is
Yeah.
our thing. And I told her this must be what like married couples feel when they find out their partner has a work wife or a work husband.
This is a betrayal.
I'm like, welcome home, cheater.
Did she get a shirt from Harry?
Yeah.
Which one did she get?
Me and her got matching ones, but you have the same one. So yes, we
Oh
all
my
got matching ones.
god.
I want my friends to get along and like each other, but not more than either of them like me.
What about you, Laura? What have you been doing?
Not really very much, to be honest. Had my birthday and then here I am.
Don't say it like that. That's so sad.
No, it's been, I felt really busy, but I think February went by so quickly. I just am kind of struggling to catch up with what even happened. It was busy and I know I had a fun month. I read a few books, actually. Maybe I should have a think about what I read because I know that I actually had some good ones to start off the year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, let me just crack because I've literally forgotten what they were as soon as I've finished reading them.
While you're thinking about that, I could tell you about some terrible books that I read.
Yeah, please
Yes.
do.
Let's go.
So when I had COVID, I had some library books that I had picked up like a few days before. And so I read some more Ali Hazelwood against like all, prior knowledge of haven't enjoyed them. These books were absolutely terrible. They were worse than the Love on the Brain one. And I don't know if anyone's read them, but they're the ones that are the Steminist novellas, which makes me
hate
feel
that phrase.
sick even saying. But they're called Stuck With You, Under One Roof, and Below Zero. And they have that part that is often like a feature of really shit books is like in a series is when they're all connected somehow. So all three books were about a friendship group finding a small girl finding the massive man.
Yeah.
Who always never has a condom, and they're always like, oh wait, no, it's fine, I'm on birth control. It's the same every book. Oh my god. And
Chill tiny girls.
it's so bad that they were so bad. And
Like, do these tiny girls not think they can get STDs? Like,
no, it's
No,
fine.
they're too tiny to
it's
get that.
fine, guys. Yeah. And I don't want to be one of those people that goes to like a modern art museum and like, oh, I could do that. But literally, I could write one of these books. They are so bad. It would take me like 25 minutes, I reckon.
So any publishers listening, hit us up. Bridget's going to write you a book.
I would love to write a book with you guys.
And there's
we
gonna
should
be-
write a pod book.
I'll just have a disclaimer, and if anyone who was hoping there would be any science in these books, there will be no science. The science stuff in each of these books was worse than the stupid sex scenes.
Wow.
Stop writing about science, Ali Hazelwood. Oh my god, it's so annoying.
It's so weird because she is a scientist, but it just sounds so fake when she writes about it.
there was one of them. They were just talking about Mars when they were having sex for the first time. He was like describing her body
Yuck.
like saying, "Oh, your belly button is like some ocean on Mars or something." He was saying like topographical locations on Mars was the same as her body. I just could not handle it.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm very sorry you had to go through that because I am just looking at the books that I read this month and they were all really good. I read a book called Nothing Bad Ever Happens Here by Heather Rose, which is a memoir. So she's an Australian author and it's like something like there's a terrible tragedy in her childhood that kind of well, I'm not crying, I'm just choking a bit.
Either one with you, really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair. But there is something really tragic happens in her childhood that really just like shapes her outlook on life, and it just kind of charts the course of her life and talks about like nature and family and like love, and it has a bit of a like spirituality kind of element to it, which is normally like not really something I'm overly interested in, but just her writing was really, I don't know, like it was quite, I don't know, just like shimmery and magical. I don't know how to put that into any better words. And I found that really beautiful. I think I sent you guys a voice message because I started listening to it when I was walking home from work and it was very sad and I was like crying on the walk home from work. Mm-hmm. And then another one I read was The Book of Goose by Yi Yun Lee. Which was very funny, but it's also quite it's darkly funny and a little bit has this like sort of unsettling, I don't know, like just a bit like haunting. I don't know, like you just have this kind of undercurrent of tension and unease throughout it, and it's just about these two childhood friends in like 1960s, 1950s France or something like that. That must be wrong. I should probably just stop trying to describe these books. Hang on, maybe if I just say...
No, you're doing great.
I read 3 great books and they were XYZ. I should have just done that. The last one I read was another book by an Australian author called Sunbathing by Isabel Beach, and it was also a story about loss and grief. And a woman who is like grieving books a ticket to visit her friends who are getting married in Italy and like spends a summer in their garden and like exploring their area and dealing with her emotions. And it was very beautiful. And that was that.
Have you read anything good, Erin?
I've just been reading graphic novels or like manga. So I'm reading this series about like these kids starting a band, which is pretty fun. It's called Given. And then I'm also reading Alice in Borderland, which is the manga that the Netflix show's about. I think I like the show better, but it's interesting to see the differences.
You're kind of reading to a theme here with banned books.
Yeah, well, I don't know. These banned books are my jam anyway.
Yeah.
Like everyone I've talked to about Daisy Jones, I feel like I have to give the disclaimer that it's like a heavily Erin-coded book anyway.
One other notable thing I did this month was I finally watched After Sun, which was just as heart-wrenching as I had heard it was going to be. I saw this comment on TikTok that was like the best movie that I will never ever watch again.
So true.
It's like every movie film.
Let's begin the episode. What were your...
Let's do it.
Okay, so Daisy Jones, cast your minds back. What were your initial thoughts, expectations, hopes and dreams heading into this book?
I had high hopes. So I read this for the first time in January of 2020, which is not long after it came out, I don't think. And I bought it because the copy I have has reviews on the front by like Reese Witherspoon and Fern Cotton, who was a radio presenter in England for BBC Radio 1. And so I quite like her and I trust both their judgments. And then I read it was about like a band and stuff, which is my vibe. Love reading about that shit. So I had high hopes.
I read it in June of 2022, apparently. And I'm pretty sure I just saw it on TikTok. I'm not sure if I read this one first or Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm not sure. But like obviously, especially last year, those two books were all over TikTok. So I think I just saw it on there.
That's interesting. I, for some reason, thought that you hadn't read it before reading it for the pod as well. So we've all read it twice because I read it apparently in August 2021. Except the only thing that I will say is that I listened to it as an audiobook, which was something I wanted to talk about anyway, because the audiobook was, I thought, fantastic. And I think it was one of the first audiobooks I actually listened to. And so then that set the bar really high. And so I was kind of a bit uncertain about how that the format of the writing or the style of the writing would transfer over having to actually read it on paper. I think I still am quite skeptical of any books that are on that, like Dimmick's 100 or like Oprah's Book Club, Reese's Book Club, whatever, like exercise caution for sure. And so I was pretty hesitant to read Daisy Jones because I thought it's probably pretty mid, as the kids say.
Do they still say that?
I think so.
I
don't know.
Say it for a long time.
Oh, shit. Embarrassing for you.
I agree though, Laura. I thought the same thing. I didn't think it was going to be that good just because of the people that were reading it on Goodreads and giving it 5 stars other than you know.
Thank you so much.
Disclaimer.
Just people I saw. It's like the people that like think Akatar's the best.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's not?
That you like, I'm just sort of, I don't know about you.
I understand. We had this conversation in our group chat the other day about how we don't trust any TikToks that have like books that are worth the hype, and the love hypothesis is on there. We're like, nah, out in the bin.
It's always
We
on
don't trust
there.
them.
Why?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. It is, I guess because I read it before the hype was huge, so I knew that whoever was recommending it was right. But I understand why you would have been apprehensive for sure. Okie dokie. So before we jump into it, this is your friendly spoiler warning. So if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, then this is not the place for you to be. Likewise, if you don't like rude words, then it's best if you proceed with caution. Just a reminder that there is a content warning about this book, that it does cover some pretty heavy topics such as family abandonment issues, drug and alcohol abuse and addiction, and abortion. So if you're sensitive to any of these topics, please tread with caution.
Everyone knows Daisy Jones and the Six, but nobody knows the real reason why they split at the absolute height of their popularity until now.
Daisy is a girl coming of age in LA in the late 60s, sneaking into clubs on the Sunset Strip, sleeping with rock stars and dreaming of singing at the Whiskey A Go-Go.
The sex and drugs are thrilling, but it's the rock and roll she loves most. By the time she's 20, her voice is getting noticed and she has the kind of heedless beauty that makes people do crazy things.
Another band getting noticed is The Six, led by the brooding Billy Dunn. On the eve of their first tour, his girlfriend Camilla finds out she's pregnant, and with the pressure of impending fatherhood and fame, Billy goes a little wild on the road.
Daisy and Billy cross paths when a producer realises the key to supercharged success is to put the two together.
What happens next will become the stuff of legend.
Okie doke. So I'll start off. I love this book. I think it's easily one of my favourite books ever. But like, as I said before, it's Erin coded. Like, I was always going to love this book. It's just like reading another autobiography, which I read all the time anyway. So I loved it. I love the format. I love the content. I love the narration style. And I cried when I read it the first time. And I remember Bridget being like, what did you even cry at when she read it? And then I was like, oh, maybe it was just because I read it the first time. And then, so I finished rereading it for the pod last night and I was literally sobbing. I woke up this morning and my eyes were like a little swollen. Like, I was fucked
not
up.
the cry hangover.
Erin, I can't believe you.
Oh, it's brutal. I still think it's so sad.
I
It's
cried.
So sad.
What is sad about it?
Oh my god.
See,
We'll get into this.
Oh
Okay.
my-
we will get there because I think I cried too, but I'm not
thank
sure we
God.
were crying at the same points or for the same reason. So I can't
Oh,
wait to
dear.
talk about that. I I like this book, but I don't love this book. And I think I would still recommend this book. And I think it's a very enjoyable read. I mean, clearly I read it twice as well, so I don't have strong feelings against it. I think it was the first Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I've read. And it's my favorite one that I've read as well. But yeah, it's probably like a 4-star book for me.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Erin, but I thought it was such an underwhelming book.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I just have like no feeling about it.
Oh my
God.
And
if I do have feeling, it leans more towards bad.
Oh my God. That's fine. I came mentally prepared to fight about this.
I just think like nothing happened.
Oh my God.
And I think maybe if it was written more of a traditional, like not in a transcript sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that it's meant to be like, like this person's interpretation, this person, are we getting the whole story? I just felt like so bored the whole time. Oh. And I hated every single one of the characters except for maybe Camilla. But even then, I just think they're all terrible people.
Oh, no.
I just did not like them.
This might be the end of the pod. Much like how the Six break up at the end of their tour. This is where we die.
I think it was just like underdeveloped.
Oh my God.
And like I couldn't tell you more than 2 things about any of the background characters, or even the lead characters. And I think I'll like the show because it will give me something else. I don't know.
I'm curious to talk about the show more later because I'm nervous about the show because I think – so one of the things I really love about the book is the way it's written in that like interview format because I think it allows the characters to tell their version of the story, which is all like from their perspective. It's not going to be the whole truth anyway. But then they're also telling – the version they want people to know. So that's not the truth again. And then at the end when you find out who they're telling it all to, there's another layer of lying in there or why they may be telling things the way they're telling it. And I just really like the complexities of that storytelling. And in my opinion, that adds so much nuance to it because you have to think every time, well, why did they say it like that? And did they mean it when they said it like that? Or like, were they lying for the sake of who they were talking to, for their own self-preservation? I really like that. And I think I'm nervous that the show will do more like showing than the book does because it's not going to be from people's perspectives. Yeah. You're not going to have like the 7 or whatever unreliable narrators that you've got in the book. You've kind of got one source of truth unless each episode is from a different character's perspective.
And I think that's what I want. But, I think I can pinpoint the point where I was like, where I made my decision. And it was at the end.
You read the whole book.
No,
yeah.
I hate it.
No,
fair effort.
I thought that the plot twist, if you could call it that, of it being, what's her name? Julia. I just thought that was dumb, but that's not the reason. I can't remember which character because they're all the same in my mind.
Oh.
But the one who has like a lawn mowing business or something and just started promoting his lawn mowing or like I can't even remember what it is.
I think that was Pete. Yeah.
Pete.
And what is his business?
It's
lawn mowing.
Like a brush cutting business.
I just thought that was so dumb. And I thought, what is this book? Like it just felt like cheap.
So I think the reason why that bit for Pete is important, that's the only comment he makes the whole book. It's the only time he comments on the whole thing.
Dumb.
Because he doesn't want to be involved in it all. And I don't know, maybe it is because I've read so many like autobiographies like this. That is the kind of stuff you get from people who want to distance themselves from the band. And so it is pretty authentic to be like, look, it was a fun time, but this is what I'm doing now instead, and I don't have anything else to say. And, like, there's someone at the start who has a very similar thing to say. I think it's the guy who wrote the song and stole the lyrics from Daisy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not being involved. It's the only time you hear from him, but it's crucial to Daisy's trajectory. Yeah, I think that comment from Pete, it's important he has at least one comment on his whole journey with the Six. And I think it's pretty on brand that it's, look, it was a fun time and I'm done now. Especially when one of my favourite things that Pete does and Eddie like flips out about, because Eddie's his brother.
Yeah. The big crybaby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, understandably though, like, anyway.
Hang on.
Pete keeps telling Eddie, like, it's nothing matters. None of this matters.
Yeah.
It's all just fun at the end of the day. And Eddie takes it so seriously. Everyone else takes it so seriously. But Pete's just there because he likes to play. And then he finds something he likes more than that. So, of course, he gets out. And, of course, he likes his, like, brush cutting business or whatever it is. So I understand why you would be like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got it.
I liked that too. I think like you're saying you didn't really connect with any of the characters. And actually I think I fall somewhere in the middle because I agree. I initially was like really very, very much enjoying the sort of behind the lyrics, like documentary style, interview style format of the book. And I really enjoyed those bits where they were like repeatedly contradicting each other. Like it was like, oh, I named the band like the Six, and then the next one's like, I had no idea where we came up with that name. And then the next one's like, I'm pretty sure I came up with the name. And I thought those were really funny. After a while, I found it like a bit formulaic and like a bit boring because I started to think, well, like the truth is that there is no truth and this is just a book of contradictions. And I think it kind of undercut the emotion of the book a little bit and sort of cheapened it somewhat for me because like I understand what was happening. Like it's all subjective and like exactly what you're saying. They're putting forward the version that the story that they want to tell, whether it's like, I don't know how you even determine if it's a genuine truth or not.
Well, I think it depends on the characters. I think characters like Daisy were pretty straight up about telling their truth the whole time. Characters like Billy, he was not telling the truth, and you could tell that because he contradicted himself over and over again. He was obviously lying not only to himself but to the interviewer, his daughter, and he had good reason to be lying. Probably not so much to himself, but he's been doing that his whole life anyway. And I think that's clear when he's really adamant. They're talking about one of these songs and he's like, I didn't write it about Daisy. It wasn't about Daisy. And then near the end of the book, he admits that he wrote it about Daisy, but he says it in the middle of talking about like this power that they had and that when you're singing songs with the person you wrote it about, of course it's going to have this emotional effect on people. And it's like the only way he could admit the truth about it was when he was bigging himself up anyway. Because I think when they did the SNL performance, he was like, oh, it was so magic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that's what happens when you have that connection. The connection you've been denying the whole book. And only now you're like, maybe it was real.
Yeah. And I think that's also part of it because I really just did not like Billy.
Same.
I think he was just a horrible person. Like just so arrogant and so rude. And I don't mind it when people have an ego if they're a little bit self-aware, but they all had the biggest ego and none of them were self-aware. Like they all just thought they were top shit. For what reason?
I thought Karen and Graham were both very like humble and self-aware. I thought they were like a better romance than Billy and Daisy. And I think we can talk about this later, but sort of in line with what we're saying or what you're saying, Bridget, like I really didn't find Billy and Daisy very sympathetic characters and I didn't really care for what I was hearing from either of them because I just thought, I don't really care what you have to say because I wouldn't really want to talk to you or associate with you anyway.
And I don't really know why they liked each other anyway because we didn't see any interaction or chemistry between them. Like I think I would have liked it more if it wasn't the transcript style, because it just seemed like they were never in the same room because Daisy was always off partying and stuff, and then all of a sudden they're obsessed with each other. And I just feel like we just missed like so much of the story. And I know that's part of the style, but I don't know, it just wasn't for me.
I get that. I think in the reread I did see less of the chemistry than the first time I read it. The first time I was like really rooting for Daisy and Billy. Not to like break up Billy and Camilla, but I got what they were doing. But yeah, the second time it does feel in some ways that it comes out of nowhere. There's some sudden interest in each other. But I think also like Daisy and Billy are obviously literary foils of each other in the same way that like Karen and Camilla are foils of each other. And so I think in the ways that they are repelled by each other, they're also drawn to each other. And partly why they're never together is because Billy doesn't trust who he could be around Daisy.
Yeah. And I think I have a problem with Graham. That's his brother, isn't it?
Yes, I love Graham.
Well, I just think I have problems with him too, because if he, and I know that Billy probably wouldn't have listened, but he could see all of this happening. And I know he's like salty because Billy doesn't ever notice what's going on with him or whatever. But if your brother has an addiction like that and is struggling, help him or like say something. Like no one helped anybody. Everybody saw what was happening.
But like no one wanted to be helped though. I think.
No, but nobody tried. Like his brother didn't even try.
I think it's easy like when you're not in it. When you think about like they're all in it all together and it's what they're told rock stars do.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to identify people who, and I think it's Teddy who has this conversation with Billy. He says some people can do this, you can't.
Is
and
Teddy
you need
the
to
producer?
Stop. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was your only one that ever, and was he
Yeah.
the one that had the heart attack and died?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he was also the only one with enough like distance from what was going on to be able to see that Billy couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Because everyone else was so absorbed in it, they didn't know, and they were also new to it. Like they hadn't experienced it before.
This, like, that was the culture, and also, like, if you think about Elvis,
Yeah.
had all these people around him who knew what was happening,
Yeah.
could see that what the problem was, but we're just happy to keep living off like the success of this man who was just killing himself, and didn't want to say anything about it.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, I don't know, I just don't like irresponsible people.
I think that's kind of like a part of like the heart of the book though as well, because like I was thinking throughout like, oh, it is really annoying like how we do have this kind of like in these interviews people are saying, oh, I didn't want it to be that way, but then like again and again they're saying like, well, although we basically got this far because we just bowed down to what Billy was doing, so even though we didn't like it, it was probably for the best.
Yeah, and they whinged about things that Billy was doing, but were they the ones that were there in the studio, like mixing the record and like, oh, they weren't really that interested in that side of things. And maybe it's because Billy wasn't letting them, but they were pretty happy to let him and the producer stay there all hours of the night and they go off and do drugs and drink. Like, what do you want an input or do you want to have a good time? And I just feel like they just should have been a bit more grateful. But
Jesus Christ, you don't even like Billy.
No, not to Billy. No, I think they should have been more aware of like how lucky they were to be like traveling, making music. Like how many people is that the dream for? And these people were just like, all they were really interested in is like the sex and the drugs.
But I think that's also like reflective of the apparent, like, not that I was there, but like the culture at the time, like it was just like easy breezy, like sex, drugs, rock and roll, like touring life. Like it just seemed like gratitude wasn't really a part of that lifestyle, to be honest.
I just feel like they like just the music should have been the focus, not like, I would have been more interested if it was more about the music and the band and like rehearsals and touring rather than like, all of the parties and groupies and whatever. That's the side I wasn't really interested in.
Because I understand what you're saying about why didn't they like help Billy if they didn't want him to take control. And I think it's a very similar thing. They were so new. They were launched into this stardom that they didn't really know how to handle, and they weren't really equipped to do all the mixing and stuff that Billy was doing. And I think it's also important to remember that Teddy was doing most of the ideas anyway. Like Billy would only do what Teddy told him to do.
Like when they were going to take out the
tambourine or whatever.
Yeah. And the producer joked and was like, oh, take it out anyway. And he was like, I can't do it without Teddy, and I only do what Teddy says.
I think they either help and like get involved or they leave Billy alone.
Yeah.
That was annoying. Just egos, like just all these egos just fighting each other.
But I also get it. Like if I was part of this big band and this guy had a winning formula and he was changing all my shit, but we were still winning, I'd probably be pissed, but I'd still be like, oh, all right, I guess he knows what he's doing. Like,
and also, if you're in a band and you're not the front man, you're going to have to deal with that.
Oh, every time he was like, it's my band. And Eddie was like, bitch.
It is his band, though. Like, the Rolling Stones, imagine if, like Mick Jagger is why people like the Rolling Stones.
It's what people associate with
and
it,
it would be exactly the same thing. Daisy and Billy would be the people because they're the ones putting on a show. No one's really that interested in, like, bassists, even though they obviously play an important role, but it's like the entertainment are the front people.
Yeah, and that's why the drama is so appealing. That's why, like, when they dropped the Rolling Stone article that they hate each other. Stardom, instant stardom.
Oh, that made me so angry. Just, like, pull your shit together. For one night. Oh, my God.
I love that scene where old mate from Rolling Stone is like, oh, Daisy said that you're an ex-addict and you missed your daughter's birth. And he's like, well, I've got a scoop for you. I hate Daisy Jones.
Also, I think the other one's a bit more exciting than I hate Daisy Jones. Don't you?
The
addiction and cheating on his wife.
I did like the way they justified why he didn't say it. With the whole, like, see no evil, don't bring it up if it's, like, a real problem. Because there was so much of that at the time as well. Like people,
it's
like
sad,
we were
but it's not juicy.
Yeah, it's sad. It's not juicy, and they're also not really equipped to talk about like why people are behaving like that or the real implications of that.
A point that Bridget made earlier was something about, I think something about the pacing of the book, and that was a note that I had as well. And I think you were talking about like Daisy and Billy and how they're like allegedly in love with each other, but you don't really see that. And I think that was something I was kind of like failing to pick up on as well, because it was like, yeah, they have the whole like we antagonize each other. I hate how much I love you. Like I hate you so much I love you thing. And like, yeah, like there are those scenes where they share those similarities and they really do. I don't really doubt that they understand each other on a base level because they are both like these super intense artistic people and they both have, I guess, similar family backgrounds in that like largely absent parents. But apart from like them writing the songs, you don't really like them being friends and them, I don't know, reaping the rewards of that friendship or camaraderie or whatever. You don't like, there's not a lot of breathing room for that. And it just goes from them like, oh, we wrote an album, yay, we're such good friends, to we hate each other. And then, oh, the band split up. And I just think that I didn't really feel the gravity of that. I just didn't really buy it. And I also think one more thing that I was thinking as well, like that whole speech at the end where Daisy is talking about, or like towards the end where she's talking about her relationship with Niccolo or whatever his name was, and how their love was like destructive. And she thought she always had this idea that love had to be like big and angry and like sort of tearing you apart. Otherwise it like wasn't worth it. And then she was like, oh, I don't really want to love like that. And I think that was good because to me that's still very similar to the love that her and Billy have, which is this like raw kind of volatile, like all or nothing feelings for one another. And like, I think the book kind of tells you all along that like, it's never going to work out. Maybe I feel like I predicted what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. I think so much with what like transpires between Daisy and Billy is in almost what they don't say. Like they say just enough to give you like the hints of what's going on, but you've kind of got to piece together the unspoken bits yourself, which I liked, but I can understand why people wouldn't like that as well, because you want to like see, not have to guess.
I was going to say, do you guys think that they hooked up or got together and they just both revised that history?
I don't think so. And I think it's better that they don't, because I think if they're having this like emotional affair,
it carries
like 100
more weight.
times more passionate than just like a drunken mistake or whatever.
Yeah. And I think if they had hooked up, Daisy would have said. I don't think she would have lied about it.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think they actually got together, but I was just wondering when you were saying like about things unsaid, I was like, that's an interesting point. As always, thank you for listening. Part 2 of our 2-part series on Daisy Jones and the Six will be out in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, if you want to be on the same page as us, you can follow us at talkfit.gethit on Instagram and TikTok.